Hi everyone, welcome back to Innovation Tech Communities, yet another session. And this session is going to be about Microsoft Power Platform. And we have our expert speaker with us from US, is David Patrick, who is an MCT and an MVP as well, and technology expert. So let's see what David has to show us. So without any further ado, the stage is yours, David. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. As they said, this is my talk, AI inside the Microsoft Power Platform. My name is Dave Patrick. A little bit about me. Microsoft certified trainer since 2000, so going on 24 years now. I also have a lot of other certifications like the Microsoft Certified Solution Developer, Solutions Expert. I've been an MVP for 7 or 8 years now. I've got so many certifications that one time I qualified for something called MCP Dead. And I think it's hilarious. It stands for Microsoft Certified Professional Enterprise Application Developer. I actually had to pass the VB6 exam to get that certification. So I thought it was hilarious. So I like to keep it up there. If you want to find out more about me, check me out on linkedin.com/David E. Patrick. More about my company, a great company I work for over here in the US, the Data Systems Analysts, Inc. We've been around since 1963. We love folks to come and work with us. So if you want to find out more about our company and some of the career positions we have open, check out tinyurl.com/career. I also run a user group, one of three that I run, Mad SharePoint, because sometimes we're mad at SharePoint, sometimes we're mad about it. We're a hybrid, so we meet in person and online once a month. Come check out madsharepoint.com for more information about that. Let's jump into today's talk. So what is AI? It's the last year, it's just blown up. People are all excited. It's the best thing since sliced bread. What can it do? And then why is AI? Why should I use it? How is it going to make things better? And finally, I'm a big believer in learning by doing hands-on. So we're going to do a lot of demos here where you can see how you could use AI. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing I like to show is this like little myth buster. Boom, what is AI? And we unmask, for any of you folks that are of around my age, you might remember the Scooby-Doo cartoons where at the end we always unmask the villain. Here's us unmasking AI, and we find out it's a bunch of algorithms underneath. It's a lot of complex algorithms, but it really is just a bunch of algorithms. If true, then false, then else. So let's not get too. It's not a lot. It's not magic going on behind the scenes. I worry a lot of times when people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's just magic." It's definitely a lot of code. And right, well, Microsoft has a great little link here on their learnmicrosoft.com. It's the capability of a computer to imitate intelligent human behavior. That's what AI is. It can analyze images, comprehend speech, and interact in other natural ways, making predictions using data that from previous predictions. That's the key. So any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence, that's AI, and it also includes a subset called machine learning. So when you get into machine learning, that's the techniques where a machine gets better at something. With experience, with prior data from prior runs. And then there's another subset that we like to talk about. It's called deep learning. That's where the machine can start learning itself. It can train itself. That's the sort of like the Terminator, where the computers go off and learn how to get better on their own. So all very exciting areas of AI. Some concepts you should be familiar with when you're digging into AI. The algorithm. That's that sequence of calculations and rules that we use to solve a problem or analyze a set of data. Machine learning, we just talked about the technique where we create predictive models that can make predictions based on previous runs, not just previous data, but data from previous runs. And then again, the deep learning, where it's just learning by itself. It doesn't need us to provide it that sort of circular feedback loop. It learns how to do that all on its own. So the era of AI is now. Microsoft is all in on this. They've done a lot of work with reducing your sort of mundane tasks, helping to do things like, let's point AI at security. How can AI help us to respond and to figure out what threats are out there and respond to them even faster? How can we boost our creativity? I'm not a really good design person. So AI is helping me by saying, hey, I can in speech describe a picture and it'll give me some ideas to choose from. Not only that, but we can also code in lots of different languages. We can use natural prompts. So we're going to see some of those demos of how AI helps us to get answers to some of our most challenging data questions. We're using tools like Power BI. It's really everywhere. Companies have doubled their investment over the last year. They're also worried about fairness and transparency. So there's a lot of work being done in that area to make sure AI is not kind of going off the rails and we're sticking to what we want it to do for us. And really, half of organizations have adopted AI in at least one business area. So it's really exciting what some of these folks are doing with AI. I got some examples here that Microsoft gave me. Um, Ernst & Young, they've actually saved 250,000 man hours of manual work by automating processes and improving their efficiency using AI. PepsiCo, they went and they got a faster model into production. So they used AI to accelerate their time to market. And then Progressive Insurance is saving $10 million annually with their AI chatbots just by users talking to a chatbot and getting some of that low-hanging fruit, those easy questions answered. You can still escalate, you can still move. We'll look at building our own chatbot in one of my demos, but you can still escalate and talk to a person. It's not the silver bullet that solves all our solutions, but it can save a lot of time and a lot of money. So how is Microsoft doing this? They're making AI part of their whole intelligent data platform. So it's built in, baked in everywhere. Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, the Power Platform, which we're going to look at. It really is everywhere. And there's two audiences that Microsoft is targeting: the business users and the citizen developers, sort of those power users. That's all the Power Platform, right? So 365, Dynamics, Edge, Bing, Xbox, Power BI. There's AI to help us write DAX equations. There's AI to help us build our Power Apps. We'll see a demo of that where we take an Excel spreadsheet and turn it into an app using AI. Power Automate, it can actually help us to build flows automatically. Power Virtual Agents, which is the old name, they've renamed it to Microsoft Copilot Studio, but that's chatbots, and we'll see a demo of that. And then the second audience that Microsoft is targeting is down here: the developers, the data scientists, the people that. So if these are all copilots up here, let me back up. If these are all copilots, 11 different copilots up here, the down here, these are the out of the box. There's Copilot for Power BI, Copilot for Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams. The down here, and what's missing from up here is GitHub. We'll talk about GitHub too. Down here, you can build your own custom Copilot. So you can use Azure AI to do things like, hey, I want to do a smart search, or I want to build my own bot, or recognize forms, maybe like a receipt as part of an expense application, or index a video automatically. So lots of tools that are available from the cloud to help us build our own AI bots or whatever it is that we want to build. And so they're all available from Microsoft's machine learning platform, available through Azure. Again, Microsoft's done a lot of work with making sure that it's accessible. So AI, no matter which of those audiences you're in, any environment, any skill level, repeatable. So we can build something and feel confident that what it's going to do is what it's going to do, down the road. Trusted, responsible. So secure, built on Office 365, secure and ethical. We can do AI, like we mentioned, everywhere. On premises, there's some solutions to do just on premises AI. People think AI has to be cloud only. That's not the case. There's some ideas for doing it on premises. Really, for every level of expertise and really on any framework, it's open. There's portable standards. It really doesn't preclude anyone from participating. So with that, let's jump into some of the specifics here. Let's talk about Azure and the cognitive service for language. This is from Microsoft Learn. I love Microsoft Learn. A lot of my examples are from Microsoft Learn. They have great tutorials, quick starts, hands-on labs. They even give you free Azure credit. They call them virtual sandboxes to do some of these tutorials. So we'll talk some more about that when we see some of these examples. This one, the Azure Cognitive Service for Language, lets you do things like extract key phrases from text, or find linked entities or nouns. Do named entity recognition. Hey, go recognize that you're trying to tell me about an email. Maybe I gave it the command to delete that email, and it can recognize that I'm telling it, what's my intent? Delete. And what noun? Email. So there's a lot of, and then other things like summarizing text to figure out if people are giving me a lot of thumbs up or thumbs down, classifying text to group it into the different buckets. There's a great tutorial that does a deep dive into this. It talks about how you can build applications using web-based Language Studio that's from Azure. We're using REST APIs, different client libraries. However, Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, decided to rename this because they thought that the old name was a little bit much, the Azure Cognitive Service for Language. So now it's Azure AI Language. So it is less of a mouthful, but I do sometimes, you know, I'm learning it and then they rename it, so I have to remember the new name. It's just one of those things. If you go out there to azure.microsoft.com and go to the AI language website, it will still reference the old name in a lot of the tutorials. We haven't quite updated all the tutorials yet, but it's coming. So just be aware that there's some old names that have been renamed and some new names to try to make things easier for folks that are just getting into it. This is what the Language Studio looks like. If you're going to go in and you're going to build an app to do something like answer questions or create conversational language. If you've been doing this for a while, you might remember the old Language Lewis. That was the old version of this. So this is the next generation, and or maybe you use Q&A Maker. This is the next generation of those two tools. So let's take a look. Let's see what this can do for us. Let's go. I've got links in all my slides. This particular link is a tutorial, which is a quick start for working with the conversational language and understanding. So if you go to that link, it'll walk you through step by step, and I'll walk through right now step by step one of these tutorials. So the first thing the tutorial has us do is to create an Azure service called a language. This is what we're going to use to ground, our bot in, right? We've got to create a sort of a basis, and then we have to train it with our schema, our data, and then we can utilize. We have to deploy it. After training, we deploy it, and then we utilize it. So the very first thing we do, of course, I have to log in. Everything is secure. So I'm logging in with my Mad SharePoint credentials. Mad SharePoint is a tenant that I use for demos that you too can get. I'll show you at the end if you want to get your own free Microsoft 365 tenant, how you can do that. So I've gone in here, and if you've never provisioned a resource in Azure, this is what it looks like. It's one of the ways you can do it. This is sort of the easy way where you just fill in all the blanks. So I'd say, what subscription, what resource group, what service am I doing? Where do I want it to live? What region, what data center? Give it a name. Pricing tier. In this case, Microsoft offers a free pricing tier. So the first 5,000 transactions per month are free. So you can utilize that one time. You can configure the network access. You can give it identity. You can tag it with like a department, like HR or something like that. And once you're done, you can review it. If everything is copacetic, you check off all the boxes correctly, you can go ahead and create it. If not, you can go back and make changes. I'm not ready to do it yet, or maybe I want to automate it down the road. Maybe I want to run this every Monday. So there's an option to say, hey, I want to download the template, and then I'm going to script it instead of doing it using the UI. So in this case, I went ahead and I submitted this deployment, and then it's going to come out saying, hey, you've got this new language you want to deploy. So we'll go ahead and provision that for you. You can see it's created. And actually, I've done a couple, right? So I'm like Martha Stewart. I baked one earlier because this does take a minute. So I'll go a little faster and we can see what gets created when it's done, because it takes a minute. And once it's done, there we go. We'll go to the resource group. I think I pinned it to a dashboard. A dashboard in Azure is a way to group things together. So a lot of times when you're building an app, you need a web app, you need a language, there's a lot of pieces and parts. And even with this particular language, you can see there's a key vault, application insights, the storage account. So by putting them all on one dashboard, it makes it easier for me to find it and do things, tweak different things with the different pieces and parts. So here I am now. The next step is going into and selecting that language and training it. I'm going to upload some data to it, a schema, and then I'm going to train it on that schema so it understands things like different nouns. And in this example, in this tutorial, they give me an example schema. You can see right here, there's a link to the sample project file. So I'm going to download that. That is a schema, email schema, where it knows all about, you can see here, it's stored in JSON, so JavaScript object notation, and it's got entities that deal with like email. It knows verbs like delete, create, send, and it even has some different languages. I think there's German, and you're not stuck to just one language. So the next step is seeing the deployment. Once we've trained it, you can see I loaded that schema, and now I can test it out. So I'm running the test from the test harness that's available in the studio, the language studio. And you can do things like, well, what language do I want to test against? This time it's English. Which deployment am I running against? This is the email app that I just deployed, and I can just test it out. So garbage was not a noun that was in the schema, so I said garbage that email. But based on some of the training I did, it has an idea that with 91.5% confidence, that means delete. So it's already learning that, even though I didn't say delete that email, I used a different word. It kind of figured out what the intent was of that word. So that's one way to do a chatbot using Azure AI language. Another way to do a chatbot is in Teams using Power Virtual Agents, which again has a great little tutorial on Microsoft Learn that walks you through step by step how to build this bot. However, Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, has renamed it. It is now known as CoPilot Studio. So trying to get everything under that same umbrella. Again, I kind of have to take a deep breath and say, all right, Microsoft, I appreciate that you're renaming things to make them better, but I was already working with the older tools, so it's a little disconcerting for those of us that have been around a while. The link is still Power Virtual Agents. They may have a new link that also points to this tutorial. But again, it's a great little exercise that walks you through building your first chatbot. So I'll walk you through. Did I skip? I think I'm going to leave this demo for you guys to work through on your own. It is, again, the link is in the chat. If you want to click the link, you walk through the chat. It's really pretty straightforward. You literally go through go into a team and tell it you want to create a new bot. It's kind of a wizard that you walk through, and then you give it different phrases, right? So I think one of the demos I've done before was I was training it about the weather. So I would, you have to tell it, what's the weather, or is it hot out today? Is it cold out today? So giving it different phrases, it trains it on that data, and then you can test the bot. So it's even easier than the previous one where I had to load it. There's no schema. This is the no code solution, right? You're not writing any code here. You're just training it through a user interface, and then you're able to test it in Microsoft Teams. So that's a really cool solution for sort of my citizen developers, my power users. All right, so I've got a lot of other services from the Microsoft platform that I want to talk about. Not only services that you can use, but offerings from Microsoft, learning offerings that are free. I'm a big free guy. Everything I show you is free. That help you get up to speed on the various tools and technologies. So this one is part of a bunch of labs that Microsoft has called the Immersion Workshop, the Azure Immersion Workshop. This is specifically lab 4. There's obviously lab 1, 2, and 3, and then there's more than that. So what this does is this walks you through using Microsoft Azure. There's a bunch of videos and hands-on labs with sandboxes that you can work with, and helps you get the skills you need for more as a developer or a coder to build your own custom chatbots. So that's a great resource. Another tool that I want to talk about is AI Builder. So AI Builder is, again, from the Power Platform, which provides templates for building apps using AI. And you can find more information about that at powerapps.com/AI Builder. But we'll show you a little bit about it. So it's geared to be easy, right? This is the old staples, hit the easy button. It makes it easy to create. You can, again, using just the UI, you can create and develop AI models. You can connect to a bunch of different data sources, 500 different data connectors. So it's 365, Dynamics, SQL Server, all those things. It's also easy to extend. So if one of your developer buddies wants to build a custom connector, maybe you've got a custom app with a custom data source, it's not difficult to extend AI Builder. So if you're in, say, something like Power Apps, you should see like an AI Builder link. There's a build, there's models, and then you can see some of the things you can do. Category classification. So you're given a bunch of text, and you can say, well, this is to the red group, and this is to the blue group, and this is to the yellow group, or this is HR, this is IT, this is sales. So it's a way for grouping or categorizing different pieces of text. There's a template for doing that. There's a template for form processing. Again, if you have like a receipt that you want to recognize the text and then send the text to different places, or recognizing objects and images, or making predictions based on trends of data, or looking at nouns and pulling those entities out of different texts. There's templates for all this all this, and you can even see down below some of the other, demos that they have: business card reader, sentiment analysis. With someone that wrote something on LinkedIn, is it a positive thing or is it a negative thing? Text recognition, the receipt processing, the list goes on and on. If you're in Power Automate, there's actually whole templates that walk you from soup to nuts, the complete solution. So if you need to, say, analyze an email with AI Builder and send the result to teams, all the steps that are necessary in a Power Automate flow are there for you. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. I want you to use this site. I want to connect to this data source. This is the team I want it to show up in. There's another template for analyzing tech articles with AI Builder and sending the results to teams. There's one for processing receipts and putting the results in Excel. There's one for analyzing YouTube videos. So it really is easy to get started, easy to include in your applications. Another tool that I love to promote is Microsoft Designer. You find that at designer.microsoft.com. Now, this tool is interesting because when it first came out, we were going there and you were doing things like, give me an Instagram post about my cosmetic product launch on March 1st. And this is where I mentioned, I'm not much of a designer. I wouldn't know which colors to pick. I'm slightly colorblind. I wouldn't know, what image should I use, the fall. So they have a leaf here and then I'm not sure what that is. That like an insect or something? I'm not, but the AI helps me be more creative. It'll generate more than just one image. It'll give me several different images. It'll say, hey, how about this? And I can say, no, you can, and it remembers your conversation. So if I give it if I say, I like this, but use, brighter colors, or use some more red, or, add this word, it will change the design and give me another iteration. So it really can, again, help those of us that are design challenged to become more creative. What's interesting is that this tool is still available. You can go out and use it, but they started to bake this tool, which is based on the DALL-E AI model. You can now use this from Bing Chat, right, which has also been renamed to CoPilot. But so some of these tools are becoming more integrated, and you no longer have to use them separately. So speaking of Bing AI or Bing Chat, or what we now refer to as CoPilot, you can go to Bing.com and start chatting with, just like you did with ChatGPT. It's built into Bing now. You can say, hey, summarize the top news and expand on one topic that's most important. You can, in the conversation, choose if you want it to be very precise, so don't make anything up, or be a little more creative. So, kind of come up with some, I won't say make it up, but it'll try to guess at things. I once told Bing Chat to build me a resume based on my LinkedIn profile, and it said I had a PhD. I don't have a PhD. I wish I did. I appreciate them trying to give me one, but that was a little too creative. So, maybe you choose the more balanced version. Again, depending on what your results are, you can choose different. You can go back and tweak. So these are some of the examples that you can do. And I mentioned it was Bing Chat, now it's CoPilot. So just to get everything under that same umbrella, again, we take a deep breath. Every time you see the cat, I'm taking a deep breath, because Microsoft is challenging me to be flexible. So here's an example where they said I need to throw a dinner party for 6 people who, by the way, don't eat nuts or seafood. Can you give me a 3-course menu? And of course, it comes back with a pretty good suggestion of three-course menu: vegetable soup, gluten-free bread. Now I'm hungry. I want some soup. I know a lot of you folks are, it's like 9 p.m. or it's late, so maybe you can appreciate me getting hungry. Roasted chicken. Wait, did we say okay? Yeah, we didn't say vegetarian, so roasted chicken's okay. But maybe I could respond. In fact, in this example, I said I already have sweet potato, because they mentioned roasted potatoes, and then they're like, oh yeah, you can swap that out. We can, and then they give me another option. So the AI is very interactive. It remembers the conversation. It can be adjust it. I tried it myself with which is better, peanut butter or almond butter, and it told me about them both being very similar. However, when I asked about fiber, it mentioned that the almond butter has double, or 1.6 times more. And this is an example of it being, if it wanted to be more creative, it would have just said double. But I think I had this on balance, so it actually told me what it thought double meant. Well, 1.6 is not really double. It's barely, I guess if you round up, it's barely double. But that's what's so I tell my students, I teach at a local college here, the University of Maryland, And I tell them that when you're using the AI, trust but verify. So it's the information they're giving you is probably mostly correct, but you need to verify. It's check the sources, and they give you that. And so as you're looking here, you can see some of the references. So it's good to go check the references and see how the AI interpreted those references to provide the answer that it gave you. In addition to doing things like recipes and food recommendations, it can write code. So CoPilot allows you to do things like I need to generate T-SQL code. T-SQL is Microsoft SQL Server dialect, Transact SQL. And I want to know about, I want to create a table. I teach intro to databases, and a lot of my students will have struggle with how to write SQL code. It's very particular. You got to get the right data type names. You got to have the right syntax with the parentheses and whether or not it's required, not null or null. You got to make sure it has a primary key. So AI now, all I did was tell it what I wanted my table to look like. I said, hey, make sure to include, and also I said, give me some real data, right? Give me some sample data. So it went and said, all right, let's go ahead and create the table. And that's a pretty good looking table when you design it. And then it said, here's some data to put in it. So the next page actually gives me a bunch of sample data to insert into my table. Talk about increasing my productivity and helping me get started instead of having to stare at a blank slate. It gives me, a table populated with data that I can use maybe in a Power BI report or whatever I needed to do. I decided to test this even further. I said, well, you know what? That's great. Bing, it's Microsoft, it can do T-SQL, but sometimes I have to work with Oracle. Oracle has PL SQL. I wonder if Bing Chat could give me the PL SQL code, because there's some slight distinctions between T-SQL and PL SQL. And sure enough, when I said, hey, I already told you that I needed that, but now I want you to switch and give it to me in PL SQL, it said, not a problem. And notice the different data types. Varchar2, that's a dead giveaway that this is PL SQL and not T-SQL. And it also was able to generate the insert statements just like it was did in T-SQL. So pretty impressive with the Bing Chat. All right, I'm switching gears. When you're throwing a lot of different tools out there, the next tool I want to talk about is Azure OpenAI Service. This is the large pre-trained AI models, basically ChatGPT. So this is, again, put my developer hat on now, and I'm trying to build my own copilots. So using the Azure OpenAI Service to access the ChatGPT models allows me to write code and build my own custom ChatGPT, my own copilot. It makes things simple. It's got the built-in machine learning science, and I don't have to understand all that. I just use it like a black box. In addition to that being available, CoPilot in GitHub. So GitHub Copilot, not to be confused with Bing Chat, which is now called Copilot. This is a different Copilot. This is one of the first ones that I started using. It's like $10 a month, and it's worth every penny because, as you can see, it does some really cool code generation. In this example, I'm in a Python program, and I'm defined a function called validate. I passed it a parameter called addresses. And instead of having to remember all the syntax and you have to properly indent in Python, I just did a comment. And using my English language, I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to validate each address with some API, and I want to return value of valid addresses. So it writes the code for me. And all I have to do is kind of fill in the custom pieces that I need, right? The custom URLs, whatever API I'm going to call. So this is Copilot writing code for me in the program that I'm writing the code for. There it is. I'm not a huge Python programmer, so this makes me much more productive in Python if I can just describe what I want and make changes as necessary. And it does JavaScript and other languages as well. It's not just Python. So there's copilots for everyone, right? Microsoft has a whole new way to work. This particular copilot is M365 Copilot, which was announced recently, available to everybody. For a while there, it was only available to larger companies. You had to buy like 300 minimum licenses, and Microsoft recently lifted that. And now you can buy one license. You can buy 10 licenses. So a lot of the smaller businesses that can't afford to buy 300 licenses are now able to purchase M365 Copilot and do all the cool things that it can do. What can it do? I've got a little video to show you. Let me show you what M365 Copilot can do. So using this tool, you can say, I want to prepare for my upcoming meeting. And CoPilot, M365 CoPilot will give you some topics to help you prepare for your meeting using your data. Could open it in Word if I wanted to. I could tell it to draft a product announcement based on, and I can mention something. So it's going to go, again, looking at my data, my Office 365 tenant data, and generate a good looking a product announcement with bullet points. I can adjust. I can tell it to try again. I can use M365 Copilot to create PowerPoints. I love this. This is great. I hate doing PowerPoints from scratch. I can give it some data and say, hey, I want you to analyze this for me. Generate some insights. I can ask you about what products are most profitable, and it'll generate a pivot table and pivot charts. I can ask it to draft emails for me to approve something and then send it. I joined a meeting late. Hey, what points have already been talked about? Summarize, scan the transcript and summarize it for me so I can catch up pretty quickly. The Copilot does all this and more. Data analysis, design creation, team meeting summarization, SWOT analysis, on and on and on. It's really, really incredible what this AI is doing for us. So that's the good news. The catch is Microsoft 365 Copilot. It does cost $30 per user per month. For a while there, it was 300 minimum licenses. Luckily, that's been removed. But it does. The key is it uses your data. So yeah, you could go out to Chat GPT. You could use Bing, Bing Chat, aka Copilot. But with M365 Copilot, it's integrated into Office 365 using your data, your meetings. Microsoft likes to call that grounded in your data. So it's definitely something to take a look at, something to consider for some of your users. All right. What are some of the other tools that are out there that Microsoft has made available? Power BI, the Copilot built into Power BI can do things like generate DAX expressions. So I don't know if any of you are DAX programmers. I think most people are not. DAX is one of those harder languages to learn. I'm a big SQL guy, but I've never liked DAX. There's an example of some DAX there. So if I can use AI built into Power BI to say, hey, give me a rolling 10-day average of some inspections, and it's going to figure out what the DAX should be for me. Thank you, right? I don't want to have to figure out that it's average X, date, period, blah, blah, blah. Getting that syntax right, remembering which formulas to use usually takes me a lot of binging with Google or, a lot of searching on the web. And now all I have to do is ask for it and it generates the DAX for me. This is a game changer. This is a real game changer for the folks that are doing the DAX. I see, and I apologize. I just now saw that there was some questions that had been going on as as I've been talking here. Do I think AI will take over the human jobs? No, no. For the reasons I stated earlier, with things like uh, uh, they call them hallucinations, where AI will make things up. So you have to validate, you have to trust but verify. Um, I'm actually get through the rest of my slides, and then we'll start taking some questions since there's a lot of good questions over there. Let's get back over here. The other tools I wanted to shout out in the Power Platform, Power Apps and Power Automate. There's the, build a flow with your own words. You just describe it. You say, send me a message on Teams, and then it will say, all right, let me figure out what flow you should do. So we've got a quick demo on that. Go into Power Apps, and this demo is where we're going to start with our data and build an app. So in this demo, we're going to say, hey, I want to build an app, and I'm just going to use words to describe it, so I don't have to be a developer. I'm kind of that citizen user, power user. I'm going to upload an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to use AI to analyze. This is a flooring estimates spreadsheet. AI is going to analyze that spreadsheet and figure out the schema necessary to create a data-based application using create, read, update, delete, all four. That's the CRUD operations, and Dataverse to store the data. So it looks at my Excel spreadsheet, and while it's bringing that in and doing that AI analysis, I thought I'd go and bring up the spreadsheet and show you, what we're starting with. So bring that up. So this is the spreadsheet. You can see there's an overview, the contact, email, image, price. So a lot of different data types that AI has to go figure out. And then this is the result. So it brought it into a table. It recognized that that image is an HTML link, so it properly formatted that. Yeah, so that's just the picture. There's the category. The price is also a number, not currency. It's not like text. Um, there's one of the images. So if it's a clickable image, so you can see the data. It's got long text for the overview. It's got the name. It really does a great job. The email is highlighted, so it's a clickable. You can go edit that and make changes to it if you want. It's got the right format. So the AI does a fantastic job of doing that. And then you click Create App, and it takes and builds a Power App that's attached to that schema and that table that we just ingested and used AI to analyze from Excel. So it literally can not only pull the Excel spreadsheet in, analyze and get the right data types, but then it can also formulate Power Apps forms and validation, all the things that you need in a Power App. We'll kind of let's see how there it goes. It's not even that slow. I was going to fast forward, but it actually didn't take that long for it to come up with the Canvas app that's now connected to that Dataverse table that we ingested from the Excel spreadsheet. So you can see it loading now, and you'll see the end result, which is a full-fledged database application where you can do inserts, updates, and deletes against this new table that it created from the Excel spreadsheet. Let's see if we can get to the result there. Oh, here it is. There we go. So we'll fast forward a little bit. There we go. So there's the app. You can preview it, to play with it. If you haven't used Power Apps before, this is the Power App Studio where you can go in, you can make changes. You can see what it created for me was a gallery that's a gallery component where you can navigate to the different records in my database. And then on the left side is a form to actually edit the details. So now I can go in and make, like I said, create, read, update, delete. I can make changes. I can click on images, whatever I need to do. And if I wanted to tweak this app, of course, I could go make changes. If I wanted to preview the image or something like that, I could do all that extra steps where if I wanted to say make the whatever customizations I want to make with it. So it really does allow you to go in there. I started with data, but another way to do this is to just use language. So you could literally just come in here and say, hey, I want to create an app to track my comic book collection. And then describe a little bit about my comic book collection. So say, it needs a name, it needs the comic book number, the issue number, maybe who published it, the publisher. So where before I took an Excel spreadsheet and already had the data and it looked at that, now I'm going a slightly different way where I'm saying, hey, I've got an app and I'm going to describe it kind of like I did with CoPilot or Bing Chat, and it gave me the SQL. But this is going to go, I described it, it's going to go figure out the SQL, execute the SQL, create a Dataverse table, and then again, just like it did with the Excel spreadsheet. So look, it gave me sample data. So comic 1, 2, 3, just to kind of flesh out the different columns, the number, the publisher, and if it's what I want, or I could describe changes. So if I want to say, add a color, maybe there's missing a color column or something like that, I can go and edit the table properties and make changes myself, or I could ask CoPilot to make changes for me. So it really does give you total control of whether you want to use CoPilot to make changes, or if you want to tweak and make the changes yourself. So I can go in there, column properties, and see some of the changes, and I can see even the schema name, the internal name that it's going to use behind the scenes. Once I'm happy with whatever choices it makes, I could click Create App, and just like it did with the Excel app, it would go generate that for me. What I started to show you before I showed you those two apps to take the two Power App AI demos is the describe it to design it. This is the flow demo. So this is where I'm in flow, and I say, hey, I want to create a new flow, and I don't know exactly which trigger I should use or what actions I should use. I just know that when someone posts a message to a Teams channel, I want to send an email. So again, I describe it, and then AI says, oh, well, you have a trigger, probably based on your Teams channel. That's the trigger. And what action should you take? Well, you probably need to go get your profile because you're doing something with an email, and then use Outlook to send an email. So one trigger, two actions, it figured it out for me through the English that I sent it. And if not what I'm looking for, I can tell it to try again. But if it is, I can accept it, fill in the blanks, and use it. So a lot of great material from Flow, Power Apps, just to use AI to make you more productive. And there's a lot more that's out there. Microsoft Learn has hands-on labs, Azure sandboxes. They have these cloud challenges. Talk more about that in a second. But they basically help you prepare to become certified. I mentioned in the beginning how many certifications I have. I literally use Microsoft Learn to prepare for my certifications. One certification I did was the PL 900, sort of Power Platform Fundamentals, and Microsoft Learn was the only thing I used to prepare for that exam, and I passed it with flying colors. So um, if you want to get started doing your own stuff, lots of free resources available from Microsoft. You could sign up for the Power Apps Community Plan. This is your own area on your work tenant. So if you work with like a school, or you're at your regular job, a commercial, you can add your own individual environment, your own Dataverse environment to your work tenant. And the reason that's nice is that way it's very easy to move things from your sort of test area to production. Uh, you can also, if you want your own completely separate tenant, Microsoft has the 365 Dev program where you don't have to be a developer. This is kind of a misnomer. You can be a power user. You can just be a SharePoint site admin. But what this does is it gives you a free instant sandbox. It renews every 90 days as long as you're using it. So I've had one for over 8 years. Every 90 days, I get an email from Microsoft saying, congratulations, you've been using the tenant. And by using, I'm just, logging in, I'm checking my email, I'm maybe, tweaking a thing or two there. What I love about it is it comes with sample data if you want to load it with sample data, so that you don't have that blank slate problem. You can literally say, hey, give me 25 fake users. So it's meant for, it's not meant for production. It's meant for training, learning, it's exam certification, demonstrations. That's why I love the sample data, because it does gives me like a sample intranet website I can look at and go, oh, that's an interesting way to do that. Not to mention access to Microsoft experts and other recommendations. So did I mention it's free? It's free. A great resource for getting started with a lot of what I just showed you without having to pay any money. I also mentioned the 30 days to learn it. So if you want to take a cloud challenge, you can sign up on Microsoft Learn and start doing these hands-on labs and different modules. And if you complete it within 30 days, you can qualify for a 50% off exam certification. So they'll actually send you a coupon code that you can use to, instead of paying $165 in the US, that's how much it costs for us, we pay half that. So it's a great opportunity to motivate you to learn and save some money. So I definitely like that. And a lot of times they'll do these challenges during their big conferences like Ignite or Build. I know Microsoft just announced Microsoft Build, which is going to be virtual for developers. Is coming up May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So go to build.microsoft.com for more information on that. They'll probably have their own challenges that you can do to get % off different certifications. That's usually a really cool time. Another resource that I want to throw out there is this generative AI for beginners. So if you're just starting to write code and you just want to start writing your own custom CoPilot, there's a 12-week course, or however long it takes you. It's 12 lessons. You can do one a week or one a month, whatever. That teaches you everything you need to know to get started building generative AI with Microsoft tools. And it's available free on GitHub. So the link, again, is embedded in my slides. You go to GitHub and click on Microsoft Generative AI for Beginners, and you can check out that set of tutorials that help you do everything you need to do with AI. Lots more resources, free data science ebook from Microsoft, the Zero to Hero in 4 weeks. That's that lab I showed you earlier, a link to that. This is a link to some samples in GitHub for building intelligent kiosks. The AI Cloud Guides has got a great set of information on Azure AI, little click walkthroughs that you can do to see how things are supposed to work. And then there's more information on different actions you can do in desktop flows. So if you're a Power Automate, if that's your focus, this is kind of a nice actions reference for Microsoft Cognitive. I have a lot of students, so I love to throw this out there. If you're a student, if you have a .edu or a student email address, you can sign up at aka.ms/Azure Students, and you can start building these resources in the cloud for free. They give you $100 in Azure credit, no credit card required for 12 months, and in addition to that, there's a bunch of free services too. So some stuff doesn't even use your credit. And I make all my students sign up for this. It's a great resource to go out and play around with Azure AI and some of the other resources, virtual machines, uh, SQL server on Azure, Azure SQL databases, Fabric, lake houses. All the latest and greatest tools are available to you for free. If you're a student, you can use this resource to sign up. So with that, I'll start looking at some of these questions. You guys, it looks like some great questions out there. I really appreciate it. Let's take a look and see what's out there.
Thanks, David. That was really wonderful. You literally went on a campaign covering all the AI tools and services in Microsoft. I didn't expect you to cover so much tools and services. So that's really great. Even I've learned a lot from this session. So yeah,
Awesome.
as you were saying, we have few questions. So I'll display them to you.
Yeah, I mean, do we have, how much time do we have left? Can we take a few questions?
Yeah, we can take, no problem. We have a few questions. We can address them and we can then
All
find
right,
out.
let's see
No
what we
problem.
got. So NVIDIA asked about using the Azure chatbot in your website, and the answer is 100%. When you build an Azure chatbot, it's your chatbot. You can control the URL to it, the domain that it lives on. You can embed it on your own custom website. So that's one of the benefits of doing your own custom Chat GPT bot, is that you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. Um, let's see. How can organizations leverage AI capabilities when the Power Platform to drive innovation and in competitive? So we talked a little bit about that early on, right? Some of the examples that Ernest and Young was doing, and PepsiCo, and some of those. It really is about looking at how AI can make you more productive and more creative, and take away some of those mundane tasks that we do every day, right? So instead of having to worry about, you know, should I use this color or that color, or coming up with a design image, I can just have AI generate 10 of them for me and then choose between them. And then it still doesn't take away from the human element of creativity, because you can still, once you kind of get most of the way down the road, you can still tweak it yourself and add to it. I do a lot of I did something the other day where I wanted to write a recommendation letter for one of my students. So I had AI write the first version, and then I made my changes. So it helps you just avoid that blank slate problem. By using AI, you can kind of get over that hump, get you started, and then you can take it from there. That is one of the things, though, I tell my students, is to be careful. Don't just rely on AI as the final product. Don't tell AI, hey, write my report, and then turn that in. I did have one student early on submit something, and they had in there, insert your name here. And I was like, hey, you, that was obvious. You forgot to go through, and so please don't do that. Make sure you trust but verify. So those are some of my tips and tricks for using AI. I see Rohat said, how does Microsoft ensure the transparency and interpretability of AI models used with the Power Platform? So that's a whole nother talk, right? They've got lots of different information up on Microsoft Learn that talk about some of the controls that they have in place, and some of the source code that they make open source that helps with transparency. Um, you go out there on GitHub, there's a lot of stuff out there that the community is working on, so that helps with making sure that it's accessible and other people can kind of see what's going on, and they can weigh in on how it's working. So those are some of the ways, but there's just so many articles on Microsoft Learn that talk about, and not just articles, but there's also communities out there. If you're not on the tech community at Microsoft.com, folks, like myself, get together, and we all kind of discuss what we should be doing and what Microsoft should be doing better. And Microsoft listens. As an MVP, I'm constantly getting pinged for feedback from Microsoft. They're constantly telling me, Dave, well, not just Dave, but hey, as a group, you guys, what do you think about this? Are we doing this right? Are we doing that right? What should we do differently? So they do reach out to us a lot, to the MVPs and other user groups and focus groups, to get the community feedback on how things should be doing. So good question. I see a question from Mohammed. How keep the query down? Yeah, oh yeah. Keep. If anyone has any additional questions, we got a couple of minutes left. We can keep hitting them. I think I got through all the ones that I saw up there. I'm trying to think. I've given this talk before, and every now and then we get some interesting questions. I'm trying to remember the last interesting question I got. The one that I always get is AI going to take my job? And obviously it's not. Um, I get questions about, how much does it cost? That's a good question. People always ask me, what does this cost? And I went over some of the cost with, and it's not an easy question to answer because some of it is pretty straightforward. Like, well, M365 CoPilot is $30 per user per month. But then like the AI builder, well, that's different. That's not M365 Copilot. That's built into your Office 365 license. So it's part of your license. So it's I want I want to say it's free, but since you paid for the license, it's not free. It's included, right? So there's that. There's what we've been doing. I just recently did a Chat GPT bot using AI search and AI the OpenAI, and I loaded like 40 documents. So it was an HR chatbot, and so we loaded like the employee guide, some of the information about some of the benefits that we get, the holidays, things like that, sort of HR type documents, and then we left that run for a month because we want to see how much a running application would actually cost. With about 40, they were all PDFs. We used Python to tokenize the data. So basically, it goes through all the PDFs and breaks it up into the different words so that the language can understand it. And then we let it run. It was about $8.50 per day. So that was an interesting experiment to run to kind of get a feel for if we ran a chat bot and loaded it with 40 documents and we had people hit it, about how much would that cost? So $8, $9 a day. So that's around less than $300 a month for an HR chatbot. Just to answer the question of how much do these things cost, that's one answer to that question. I see a question that popped out there. It said, could AI affect how data is analyzed? 100%. There's a lot of thoughts about that. Like, can I use AI? So we did the chatbot for HR recently, and then another question came in. Well, what if I want AI to analyze this Excel spreadsheet? And we saw that Microsoft 365 Copilot does that really nicely, but the chatbot not so much. The chatbot is more of a what kind of questions are you asking and how do I respond? And the chatbot does a good job of generating data. Hey, look at all this, the last year and how many times people tweeted about the subject, ABC. But when we tried to get the chatbot to do like pivot tables and pivot charts, it wasn't quite there in our experimentation. But it can be done because I know Copilot does it. Microsoft 365 Copilot does it. So the AI, helps us. Certain types of AI can help us analyze data better. You just have to choose the right tool for the right problem. So hopefully that kind of gives some insight into how AI might be beneficial to solve that particular problem. There's lots of problems that AI can solve, right? Data analysis is one, generating questions to answers is another, recognizing text, recognizing images. There's just so many opportunities out there for us to utilize AI to solve problems. It's really about going out there and figuring out how we can use them in our own daily work to best, help our particular instances. So good question. And nothing else.
Yeah,
Azar,
I guess.
how we doing on time?
Yeah. So guys, the entire session is recorded and we'll be dropping the links and in the comment section, and we'll also ping that. So in case if someone missed it, you can please share to them. And if you have any other queries, I guess David will be more than happy to assist them over LinkedIn. You can uh, reach him
100%.
over LinkedIn.
Find me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message there. I'm also on Twitter with the same handle at David E. Patrick. So I guess it's x.com now. I still say Twitter. But yeah, tweet me, hit me on LinkedIn. I love to find out what people are working on, what kind of interesting problems they're trying to dig into. It always helps to educate me when I find out what other people are doing. So please reach out. I love to hear your questions and comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much, David. It's been wonderful, meeting you and hosting you. So
Awesome.
until
Thank you
next,
Thank
so much.
you.
yeah, until next time,
Yeah.
bye bye. Have a great day.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, David
Thank
Patrick.
you.
So have a great day. Bye.